You did not. You did not. That's a monster. Okay, folks, this is Jeff from GFMD. In today's video, I'm going to address a couple of issues with these trolling motors. And this is not for your seasoned veteran fishermen and boaters. This is for someone that's not too familiar with trolling motors and boating in general. So what I've done today is I've got two trolling motors, and I've had issues with both of them in the past. And the reason I've got two is because I had one break down on me and I had to run to a boat place and get me a used trolling motor. So what I've done was, in one of the other videos that I made, was titled How to Replace a Control Switch in a Trolling Motor. And it's got quite a big response compared to all my other videos. And I didn't know there was such a demand out there for how to repair a trolling motor or how to deal with them. But anyway, there's several issues that can happen with a trolling motor. They're pretty simple. Primarily, there's, just wires and switches. And but there's some things that we might overlook when using a trolling motor. And I want to address those things today, maybe help some of you beginners out there. But one issue that I've found when you lose power, a lot of times when you lose power, it's due to poor connection. In other words, where you took your trolling motor leads to the battery. You may not have the nuts tied enough, or in this case, this trolling motor has alligator clips, and they just clip on. And like in this one right here, you can see that they're old and rusty. And this one was really weak, wasn't making good connections. So what I did was I took a pair of pliers and I put pressure, there was a little spring in there, and I bent that spring out and towards the far handle so that it would be, the spring would get tight like this one. But that's one issue that you'll find. And another issue that you'll find is in your prop. There's a 1/2-inch bolt right here, and it's a locking nut, so it won't fall off. But inside here in this crack, I just fixed this one. I just repaired it, and you can see some of the line that I've got laid up here. But if you're losing power, it could be two issues. One issue could be a poor connection, and your motor's getting hot. What happens when your motor gets hot is these wires start to soften up and they get hot, and then it burns your control switch out. So that's one issue. And I always try to make sure on your trolling motors that you've got a good connection all the way around. Another thing is you don't want to keep it on continuous run. There's Caterpillar or something in there, pack cell. Don't want that today. Don't want him today. But anyway, you want to keep your trolling motors as functional as you can, and you got to maintain them. So like with this one right here, it's starting to lose a little bit of power, and I'm thinking that my control switch wires are getting poor connection. So I'm going to take it apart, and you can look at the other video where I put that switch in. You can see how to do that. And I'm going to check it to see if those wires I've got hot and heated up and losing connection. But another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 1/2-inch nut off and take this prop off and look and see if there's any fishing line wound up in there. Now there was in this one quite a bit of fishing line wound up in it. And what that does is that causes friction in there, And if it's enough of it, it'll just completely almost stop your motor. So if you're going along and you know your battery's charged up and you know that you've not really went a long way to decrease the power in your battery's not getting weak, in other words, and there's some other issue going on. And usually what it is fishing line will get in here, and like I said, a poor connection on your wires. Because really there's a basic principle. It's either on or it's off. It's either getting enough power or it's not getting enough power, or there's drag. And the drag comes in, your prop can be scarred up and bent, and fishing line can get in here behind your prop. So we'll take this off here in just a second, and we'll show you just exactly what we're talking about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this locking nut off that holds the prop on, and you can use, it's a 1/2 inch nut. You can use an impact drill or a screw driver bit, or you can use a wrench. I'm just going to, for time's sake, just do this and take that nut off. This is very simple. There'll be a little washer. See that washer? You want to keep it, make sure you got it. Don't lose it. And just gently pull this prop off. Sometimes it'll be a little hard. There's a pin in there. And there we go. See that fishing line? That fishing line is causing drag on this motor. See the little notch? See the little notch in that? This pin right here rides in that notch, and that's what holds that propeller straight. But this fishing line, that's hard to turn. That shouldn't be hard to turn. Now sometimes you can just unwrap those and they'll come out, just depending on how long it's been in there. But I like to take a razor blade or a knife and just cut them out. Sometimes it's a lot quicker just to do that. Just to cut it out. Now look how much fishing line. That looks like 20-pound test. That'll actually drag that motor down. Now that's much easier to turn now. That'll drag that motor down, and sometimes the line will be out and you can see it. You can visually look down while you're on the lake. Pull your trolling motor up and look and see the line. And it's not going to do you no good if you're way out somewhere and you can't get this off and fix it. And what that'll do is that'll run your battery down, and you'll keep continually losing power and heating your wiring system up. So the best thing to do, I've found, and even this pin, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but this pin's bent. It's not straight. Somehow that got bent. So we'll have to straighten that out. There we go. And you want to line that notch up with this pin. Make sure your pin's same distance apart. Just put that on there, and you'll know when it's all the way down, because it'll almost touch. There's a little offset right here. When you put that on there and it's not lined up, see how big a crack you got, and that offset's not going back in there. So you want to make sure you get that groove, this pin in this groove, where it'll go all the way down. See that? It's all the way down. You don't have to tighten this nut a great deal. Just find my washer. What am I doing right here? It is. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on this nut and hammer it real tight, because as long as it stays in that notch, you'll be fine. And sometimes on your trolling motors, this shaft that this nut goes on will turn when you're tightening it up. And what they've done is they put a little groove right here, and you can hold that shaft with a screwdriver And of course, take your wrench, you won't be able to use that impact. But you take and put a wrench on there first and then put the screwdriver in and then tighten it up and hold it with the screwdriver. It's pretty straightforward, but like I said, we're not speaking to the veterans that know this already, just people that might not know it. You just want to get it where it's tight and not moving. See, it's not moving in and out. The only thing that's moving is the shaft inside, but there we go. That right there will surprise you, that little bit of fishing line. And a lot of times it's more than that. But that little bit of fishing line, it looks like about 20-pound test. It'll put so much load on your trolling motor that it'll burn your switch out. You'll overheat over a period of time. So we got both of these fixed today. This one had a bunch of line in it. And of course the alligator clip, I'm going to have to change these out. But one thing I would do if I was, going to go a long ways and just use a trolling motor. Anyway, if you find this video helpful and informative and all that, give us a big thumbs up or a like. And if you've not already subscribed, would you please consider doing that? Help us out with this channel. And till we see you again, we appreciate you.